Welcome back, and in this session we're going to look at a typical rising road geometry question. So the question we have is what we see here. Here we have a road cutting across a mountain, and we have a given point A of known height, which is 20 meters high, which is rising up towards point B up here at a road gradient of 1:15 rising. We also have our cut ratios, which is 1:1.5. We have our embankment ratios of 1:2. So when given any of these questions, probably the best thing to do is to first of all work out each of your ratios, your cut, your fill ratio and your road gradient in relation to the contour intervals that we have. So if we look at our map, the contour intervals here you can see are rising up in 5 meter intervals. So with that in mind, we'll convert our ratios into 5 meter intervals. So our cut of 1:1.5, for every 1.5 meter in height we want to gain, we need to come out 1.5 meters. So for every 5 meters we want to gain, we need to come out 7.5. For our fill, we have 1:2. So for every 5 meters we want to drop, we need to come out 10 meters. Likewise with our road gradient, we have 1:15. So for every 15 meters we walk along the road, we will raise up 1 meter. So for every 5 meters of height we want to gain, we need to come out 75 meters. So what we'll do is we'll first of all use that road gradient slope to find 2 points on our road. We have a point one, our first point already, so A is at a height of 20, so we need to find a second point on the road. Generally speaking, you want to have a high point and you want to have a low point. So if we walk out here a distance of 75 meters, we will have gained 5 meters in height. So for every 75 we walk along the road, we gain 5 meters in height with our current road gradient. So if we started off at 20, we walk out 75 millimeters or meters along the road, and we've now gained 5 meters, so we're now at a height of 25. So straight away, mark that in on your map, so when you look back over it, you know exactly which is your high point, which is your low point. And you can see I've squared that distance out to the sides of the road, because we always work from the sides of a road. So this is my point on the side of the road of 25, this is my side on the opposite side here of height 25. With that done, the next thing we want to do is look and put in our cones, say whether our cut cone or our fill cone. The idea being is that we want to find a level line which we'll be able to offset to cross with our contours. So generally start off and look at the map that you have and see, well, are we going to need mostly cut or mostly fill, and start off with which is going to be the most common. So looking at a road, we can see here we have 20 to 25 is our distance here. Looking at the contours around it, we have 35, 30, 25 say along here. So the mountain is going to be higher than the road here. So if the mountain is higher than the road, we need to cut away the mountain. So we'll be dealing with our cut. So we have our cut ratio here. So for every 5 meters we want to raise up, we're going to step out 7.5. We have a nice little rhyme to work the position of our cut and our fill. It's cut at the butt, that is say cut at the lowest point, and fill at the hill, i.e. the highest point. So just to give a little look at see what we're actually doing here. If we have a road, there's our lowest point 20, raising up to our highest point 25. Our cut cone is an inverted cone, an upside down cone, with the apex at our lowest point and our base raised up at our highest point. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to place my cut cone at my lowest point 20. My ratio for that I'm getting directly from my ratio up here. So for my raise of 5 meters I need to come out 7.5. so that gives me sets the angle for my plane. I then draw him and connect him back to my 25. That gives me my level line here, or my trace of my plane. And you can see here on my 3D I have this guy marked in as a height of 25. A handy way when you're looking at your map to say, well, what height is that, is to follow the line along, and wherever it hits the road, you can see it hits the road here at my 25, that's going to give me the altitude of that true length line or that trace. So that's always thing, just always do a little check with that. when you have that done, the next thing to do then is draw a line off perpendicular. So a line perpendicular to that, always perpendicular to our true length line. Some people, and a common mistake is that people will continue this guy on like what you do with a level road. Not so with your rising road. Always go off perpendicular to it. And on that line then we can mark off our intervals. Again, still working with our 7.5 for our cut, and that will give us our parallel line. So here we have our line of 25. You can see where he hits our 25 contour on our mountain, gives us a point. Our next one, because we're walking out, we're rising up along the side here, so we're gaining height. So 5 meters will get us from 25 to 30. Then another one, 5 meters to 35. You can see that crosses here. And I'm also marking them off over here in the distance as well. So everywhere that hits a 35 contour, whether it's here or over here, we just mark it in. Same thing applies here with our 40. Then we have 45. Then we have our 50. And then we have our 55. And you can see our 55 here doesn't hit our 55 contour up along here. So that means that we can ignore him. This point here and this point here can be just connected together. So that's my mountain drawn in there. So because this is my cut, I want to indicate that it is a cut. The way we do that is using our little tadpole symbols. You can see here the tadpoles swim uphill, so they swim to the higher point. So on our embankment, the higher point will be looking down on the road. So here's our cut portion looking down on the road. So the tadpoles are swimming uphill. We do exactly the same thing then on the opposite side of a road. So we're still dealing with cut, so we still go to our lower point. Still with our ratio, 7.5, our cut ratio. Join it back. Like we said before, we meet the road at our height of 25. So that's the height of our true length line or our trace line. Drawing our perpendicular line, and we're offsetting, and we're marking off every time we hit a point. You can also see here, it's handy, because my 25 line here didn't go back into the road, we can also step in the way. So for every 7.5 I move in this direction, you can see I'm gaining height, 5 meters. So for every 7.5 I move in this direction here, I'm lowering height. So this line here is a height of 20. And you can see he'll hit my 20 contour inside the road. So where the boundary crosses the road gives me the exact transition between my cut and my fill. Just hide this guy here, and you can see, drawing in our line, we can see there's our boundary for our cut. You can also see that an interesting point to note will be this line here doesn't cross through this contour here like that. We have our 40 line here, our 40 trace here like that. He doesn't cross my 40, so there will be no point on this 40 contour. So it's important that you don't just take the shortcut across there. He will ring around like that. He won't hit my 40 contour. So again, with that in mind, that's my cut portion. So put in my symbols. I'm going to fade this out, and we're going to just look at our fill portion. So our fill portion, this time, looking back at our map, a fill is created by a regular cone or a right cone. So this time it's fill at the hill, so fill at the highest point. So the apex of our cone is at the highest point. So I have my 20, I have my 25. So I draw my fill cone being 5 is to 10 at the highest point. I draw my line back, and you can see he hits the road at my height of 20, so the height of this line is going to be 20. Just looking at the 3D, there we can see the base of our cone. We've gone from the apex of a height 25, we've dropped 5 meters in height, and that means the base of our cone here is at a height of 20. So my line is also at my height of 20, like so. With that, we repeat the process. We take our line perpendicular to our true length line or our trace line. That line there is a height 20. So that hits my 20 point here. I step out my fill distance this time, so make sure you don't get confused with your cut. It might be a different ratio for each of them. So this time it's 10 millimeters is our ratio. So 10 millimeters out will get me 5 meters of a drop. So at 20, because it's filled, we're dropping down as we go out. So that's our 15. That gives me my point over here. And to find my extra point inside, to find exactly where the 2 cross, where my cut and my fill cross, I need to come in my 10 mil and take an extra cut here. So I can see this guy will cross exactly here, and they should cross in the road. You can't have a cut underneath the road. That would be like digging a hole underneath the road so the road will cave in. Likewise, you can't have a fill out on the road, because that would be like dumping a load of gravel onto the middle of the road, and most motorways don't typically do that. So that's my portion here, like so. We do the same on the opposite side. So we're dealing with my fill at the hill, the highest point, my trace. I draw my perpendicular line, and that draws it in. Now you notice we still have our portion to do over here, where we can still use our lines, our existing lines, to get our contours over here, our boundary over here at the side. All we do is we just continue them out along. So I'm going to take my 20 line here, I'm just going to continue him on, and where he's out over here, I'm then just going to create my offsets, my 10 mil to get my 25, my 10 mil to get my 30, and you can see that's starting to give us some points there. Take another one inside to give me my 40, which gives me my boundary, and again it meets the cut portion on the road itself. Same thing up here, quite simple. Again, this time you can see, because we're filling away, the portion of their boundary out here is lower than the road, so our tadpole is swimming up towards the road. Likewise we do over here. There's my original 20 contour. I'm continuing him out, and I'm going to just offset my 10 mil each time to give me my little portions here. Same thing applies. I've still got 1 or 2 little things out here, so I can continue my cut portion out to give me my last couple of little points out here. Same thing applies to the opposite side here. Now when it comes to drawing in the drawing, to keep the drawing as neat as possible, I wouldn't go and draw in my full length for my lines here. I would just draw in where the portion that they're cutting across. So rather than drawing over yourself and crisscrossing your cut and your fill lines, just tick off the portion of the contour or the boundary that you actually need. That way it keeps the whole drawing much neater. Another little tip would be to colour in your original cut cone and your original fill cone 2 different colours. Same way with your original traces. The very first trace that you find, colour that in one colour for your cut and colour it in a different colour for your fill. So they should be really standing out on your drawing. I mean, so if you can keep things as clean and as clear as possible, it does make a big difference. That's great. Hopefully this has been some help to you. Just click back up the 3D. So if you want to, if you can remember this and what's going on here, it really makes a big difference. So thank you very much.